I'm old. Mr. Nally. Sir, you lead us in prayer.
Oh, yes, sir. Father, we come to you in the name of Jesus. Father, we thank you for another opportunity to conduct your business for the city. Father, we pray that we'll be led by your spirit. And Father, we pray that we'll do everything decent and order and what's in the best interest of the citizens. Lord, we pray that we'll set aside ego. And Father, we'll focus on the business of the city, not our personal divisions. In Jesus' name I pray. It's all said.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everybody to our second city council meeting for the month of February. Before we start, there's a couple things that I want to talk about before Mr. Valley gets on the agenda. I want to let the city council know that if you ride through some of these neighborhoods, you'll see us working to get this community clean. I think there's something that before we invite people to come into our community, they got to see that this city is moving forward on getting it clean. There are two things that we're going to work on, and I'm going to need y'all to help me work on that. That's making sure we get our water infrastructure together and make sure our city is clean. So when people come into our city, we'll gain respect for having that done. Our city will be clean, and it make people want to be here. Nobody wants to come in and see it like it was. So that's one of my things to try to make sure that we get that done. And I want to invite you all out. If you all ride down Panama Road, the three main things that I've been focused on, making sure that we get blight in front of churches, neighborhoods, and visible spots. So if you come in off 49, look behind McDonald's, you can see Church of Living God. You can see it, that Alabama area over there. If you come in, go a little further down, you can see a better shot at True Vine Missionary Baptist Church. And, you know, we're just trying to make sure when people on the highway see that we're doing that. And over Helena, we have limited equipment. So that's why when I be saying we need to try to get some equipment so we can move our equipment around so everybody can get the same feel of the cleanliness that we're trying to do. So I want you all to know that, you know, that if you see people, when people get out here talking about what we're doing, it's something that should have been did a long time ago. It's cleaning up our community so we can have some city pride where people want to be here, want to spend money here. And that's the thing. I want people, when they come in from out of town, like, dang, they see we're doing something. And it makes people want to pour into our community. So, and with water infrastructure, you all are doing a great job assisting me to make sure that we can get our water infrastructure together. And I want people to see that that's what we're doing. And I'm grateful to have all of you all around the table because it hadn't been any pulling teeth. Whatever we've asked for, you all have been gracious enough to give us that. And I want to tell you all, thank you all, because I wouldn't be where I am without you all, especially with my team, especially the chief of staff, city attorney, city clerk, city treasurer who's not here. But, you know, it looks good. It feels good. And I thought when I first sat in this seat, I was scared because I was like, man, I don't know. And being here now and looking at it, I'm just grateful that, you know, I got you all. I'm not asking y'all to do anything tonight, so I'm not prepping you all up to give me something. I just want to tell you all, thank you all, and I appreciate you all for being a council, city attorney, Madam Clerk, and the treasurer for just working to make this community better. And we're not done. So I know people want us to be in every neighborhood, but we're limited on equipment. But that's one of the things I want to tell you all that we're doing is trying to keep the community clean. And if we have not gotten to your area, trust me, we're coming. So with that being said, Chief of Staff, what do you have for me?
Man, just as a follow-up on what you said, we certainly have gotten requests from various council members, especially Mrs. Miller and Mrs. Harris, about doing some work, particularly in the Helena area. And by way of re-explanation to them and to the people who are listening, the track holder we use primarily must be moved by an 18-wheeler. And we can't move with the pickup trucks and anything that we have. So when they brought it back, it was in the shop from August to late January. When they brought it back, they dropped it on Panama Road, and we kind of worked that area because you can walk the machine around that way. But as soon as we get the transportation issues dealt with, we're coming over to Moore Street, to the Ohio and Pecan and other areas that you all have highlighted for us to do as well. So we haven't forgotten those. We just can't move the equipment over there to do it. And that's what the mayor means when they say we have limited equipment. We got good equipment, but we can't always move it to where we need it to be. And last year we experienced being charged by one guy $300 to move it one way, another person $600, another person $1,000 just to move the equipment. And so that's why we're trying to do it ourselves to save that money. And now turning to your agenda, this is by way of explanation, not excuse. I didn't pour as much into the agenda preparation as I would have because I lost my brother Raymond, and we were doing his funeral preparations and all of that stuff. And so we inadvertently left off Mr. Ken Weiland, who's here to present on the water company. You know, he promised you he'd be back. He was here on the 6th. He promised you he'd be back here tonight. As a segue from that, Ms. Mary Stevens is on the agenda. Mr. Weiland did some research on that for us, and he can provide you with that information. And then Mr. Howard Eden and his group is here. They should have been listed on the agenda, but that's my oversight, and I hope you understand the circumstances under which we were laboring. And for that, I apologize for not putting them on the agenda. And finally, Roosevelt Eaton should be listed along with Al McGant, and that is something we can come back to and talk about a little bit later. Ms. Ramsey?
Mr. Gantz asked to be postponed.
Mr. Gantz asked to be postponed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, have we heard anything from Mr. Eden or his lawyer?
No, sir.
Okay. As a procedural matter, formerly the city of Helena-West Helena had an appeal process when an employment decision was made where a person was suspended for 3 days or more, or demoted or terminated, and they could appeal to the city council. The city council eradicated that, they erased it. So the employees no longer have a right to appeal to the city council. Instead, the city council has the authority under state law to overrule a decision that's been made by the administration. So that's the posture of it. I know I sound like a lawyer, but basically what Mr. Eden or Mr. Gant would be asking you to do is to overrule the decision made by the administration as it relates to their employment status. So whenever that comes up, that's the issue. James Valley, I'm an employee, but my position is it doesn't even go on the agenda until you all say put it on the agenda. But as a courtesy, we put it on the agenda because we've been asked. Yeah, I ain't trying to put nobody in the squeeze, but I just want you to have that information. All right, so then if we could, what we generally do is let our guests go first, and that will be Mr. Eden, but I'm going to ask Mr. Eden to defer momentarily because this water issue is so critical to Mr. Weiland, and let Mr. Weiland make his presentation on the well first, and then we'll address Ms. Stevens, and then we'll come to Mr. Eden. Is that all right with you guys? All right, Mr. Weiland.
Thank you, Mr. Ballard. Mayor and ladies and gentlemen of the council, good evening. I saw it, I laid on the floor. This would be just a brief update on the well. I'm continuing to work on that. We had, I don't know where my report was the last time I was here. I think the health department had been here, but I had a meeting on site with the health department. We looked at the area that I had chosen initially. They liked it, but when they got back, one of the people in the upper echelons of the health department had one little issue with a small ditch there, and so I've had to shift the well some to clear and the reasoning is you've got to have it out of the what's called the wellhead protection area. You don't want anything within 100 foot of that well. And it was a small ditch. I don't quite agree, but you don't disagree. We just do what we need to do. And so I have shifted the location of the well to a point, and I've informally spoken with them. And I think it's going to be acceptable to them. I have also spoken with the landowner there where we're looking at putting the well, which is going to be between the treatment plant and the bypass. I think everybody here knows what I'm talking about. They have expressed their desire to, I'm sure within reason, to work with the city. It will require taking a little bit of property or at a minimum a perpetual easement for that 100-foot radius around that well. But the way we're going to do it, it will be such that it should not interfere with their use of the property. So we're now configuring the access to the site. We've got to figure out, it's not just a matter of putting in a road that Mr. Saeed will eventually use to maintain and check on the well, but we've got to get a lot of construction equipment in there. And since we're going to be moving this forward as fast as we can still be a little wet. And so there'll be some damage, some damage from the construction equipment moving in and out. So we're trying to get that routed so that it doesn't interfere, and then come up with an estimate of what it's going to take to do that, and then create the road that will eventually be used as the permanent access to that well. I have gotten a first initial pass. Unfortunately, I just received it this afternoon, so I didn't have a chance to really look it over as far as a rough estimate from a well contractor based on the size of the well, the knowledge of how deep the well is going to have to be, and I should be able to get some more refined costs. It's not just the well; that's obviously going to be the big ticket item. But the access road, by moving the well, we're going to have to lengthen the amount of raw water pipe to get the water from the well to the line that takes it to the treatment plant. Fencing, all the things, you just don't think about. You're just thinking about well and water, but you need a fence. And there's just things that need to be done. The well is going to have to be raised in that area to make sure that it's out of any potential flood zone or flooding. So those are the fine things that we're working on. But it's moving along. I'm pleased with my progress. I don't know if everybody else is. Trust me, I feel the pressure of relying on the 3 wells that we have. I know what that means. I don't take that lightly. And so we're going to try to push it forward. The Chief of Staff Valley and Mr. Edwards and I had a great meeting this morning with some funding agencies, and I'm sure Mr. John can elaborate on that if you need, as far as trying to get funding. And I know there are others working on funding, so there's just a lot of forward positive traction going on with this well right now from the city. It's encouraging. We all know how long this trail is. But we are moving forward on the well. If anybody's got any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them, or I can go into more detail if you want more detail.
Well, there was a date you gave on the conference this morning, April the 1st of March. I know it's a solid date.
Yes, sir.
What I mean by solid is it's subject to change based on other things happening.
Well, I was put on the spot by the director, I guess. When do you think you'll have the plans and specs ready to bid? Well, I did mention, I'm really hoping that when I get to that point that I'm going to be coming back to the city and discussing how we want to handle actual procuring the contractors. But I did say that I was going to try to have everything ready to where we could potentially go out for some type of a bid or negotiated contract based on an emergency declaration to try to cut some time off of that. I did say, and I do hope that by the 1st of April, we'll be getting pretty close. So that gives me a couple more reports with the council. in between, to keep you informed as to how that's coming, make sure that something, we haven't hit a snag. There were environmental people on this call, all sounded very encouraged, by my description of the site. There were engineers, on the call with this agency. Their funding would require the Buy American clauses, which means that all steel components and manufactured components have to be made in the United States if you're going to get federal money these days. That's just a given. A year or so ago, that was an issue, not only in cost, but there were supply chain issues, which I think have eased some now that we're kind of getting out of that supply chain, the pandemic nightmare we all lived through. So I'm hoping. That was a long answer to a very short question. First of April, yes, sir. That's my target right now. And that's to have things ready to begin the process of securing potentially 3 contractors, a well contractor, a site work contractor, and a utility contractor to put the lines down. And then some minor stuff, fencing contractors, stuff like that, actually the city may take on.
And we're not asking the council to take any action tonight, but if you were to use an alternative method as opposed to bidding, how much time would that potentially take off of this construction period?
Probably could take as much as 3 weeks off, if not more. And because what I've done in another situation, I described this and didn't get thrown out of the room was, just because if you declared emergency, then you don't have to go through the bidding process. That doesn't mean that you only can talk to one person. And what I did was what I call a hybrid, which basically I had 3 well contractors and gave them the plans and specs and said, you've got 2 weeks to give me an estimate. And it comes in, it's sealed, just like if it was a sealed bid. It's just not a formal state procurement process where you go and they turn the bids in at the last minute, you open the bids, but it's all an honest procedure. They give me their estimates to do the project and seal, and then I open them just like I would. So the only thing you've gained is not having the 2 weeks in the paper and then 8 to 10 days later opening, and we just get right to it and try to get more than one price. Even though you're on an emergency basis, you can certainly get more than one price if we can get contractors interested. And of course, that will require council approval. I mean, that's just my idea.
So how do you go about getting those bids? There's people that contractors that that are qualified, and you'll just reach out to them. And
that's correct. And the plans and the specifications, just as though we were going to go out and bid it, that's what they would bid on, just like they would, in a normal competitive bid.
One of the state agencies, it may be in our Arkansas Natural Resources Commission, has a list of approved contractors that will be on this, among these people that he would be talking to. It's one of those agencies that have a list of well contractors and all those people. But it's not like it's a whole lot of people.
No, it's pretty limited. I mean, I can almost name them all for you.
Yeah. Now we've had, this is a separate story, but we've had people offer to come and help us with the well. But they've been doing agricultural wells, which are different than what we're doing here. And so while that offer of help was greatly appreciated, it's not something that we can use.
This well is a deep well. It's not a shallow well.
One other thing, if you would tell them the proposal on this well, how many gallons per minute, and how would that impact the service delivery out there in West South?
Well, right now I'm homing in on a 2,000 gallon minute well. We're gonna get out of the strata what we can get out of the strata, but we feel pretty good that we can get 2,000 gallons a minute out of it. I'm not going to bore you with all the technical details, but that is based on my a lot of detailed assessment, conversations with the rural water people who were operating that system for the last 6 months or so. A realistic assessment of what your water losses are and what they're going to be in the near and distant future. All that's tied into all the other work that you have to do on the distribution side, fixing the leaks, that can't slow down, it can't stop. If the loss ratio goes back up again, we're going to be in trouble until we get this new well. But that is a well that you could turn the 3 old wells off. It will support the system. It will support not only the demand that you have in the system, but it would support some elevated losses until Mr. Edwards gives you all that money. He's going to get you to get all these line breaks fixed. And again, we all know realistically that's going to take some time. So we don't want to have an anemic well out there that just gets by, because then one little thing happened and you're in trouble. And that well, I mean, we all know that in long term, you could be looking at a second well, which you would need as a standby backup well in addition to this, because the other 3 wells, I believe they were drilled when I was in elementary school, and that's a long time ago, ladies and gentlemen.
And what are they producing right now?
I think based on rural development's assessment on that, they're down about 40% of what they're supposed to be producing, and some, maybe about 1,300. They were trying to squeeze it to get 1,500 out.
Yeah.
I think 1,500 is what they needed to balance it to produce the amount that you're using and losing. That's my numbers, and I don't have a lot of data. It's just based on information from rural water. But I have a feeling because I've calculated it several different ways, and it all comes back. It actually works pretty nicely. So I have a feeling I'm not too far off with that number.
So potentially the new well will outperform all 3 of the wells.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, it has to. It has to. Because you got to control your losses. If those losses go up, you got to have the capacity. And don't forget, there's other things that it's more than just drinking water. We've got people out here with fire suppression systems and stuff, and so you need to have a well that can produce some water, so that those high service pumps, if we have a major fire, you got to have a lot of water. You can't be on the razor's edge.
Any other questions from Mr. White?
You say you need me to stay for them. Okay. All right.
Mr. Edwards, did you want to add anything to this?
Thank you, Mr. Valley. Mayor, members of the council, I just wanted to add, Chief of Staff Valley, myself, and Ken Weiland took part in a conference call this morning with USDA Rural Development officials, State Director Jill Floyd. We've been very, very pleased with the attention that we have been getting from USDA Rural Development. As the council may recall, you passed a resolution to authorize us to move forward with an emergency grant to USDA. And one of the things that we're trying to flesh out in this call today was making sure all the pieces of the puzzle come together to give us a successful application. Because if we are successful in this application, we have an opportunity to be able to reimburse some of the money that the city has already agreed to put up on this new well. And Mayor, as we've talked about many times, we're going to need every dime we can get with what we have coming forward. The timeline, as Ken Weiland noted, if he can have his numbers in April, and whatever the pleasure of the council is, my recommendation is just move with all deliberate speed that you can. You don't want to do anything silly, but as I remind everyone, the crisis phase may be over, but we are still in an emergency phase, because if anything happens with any of the other wells, we're out of luck. The other thing Mr. Valley brought up during the call today that I also think bears mentioning as we come up with all the issues that we dealt with in this event in January. There had been progress made with some of the leaks, but we had so many leaks, and then we had new leaks. And then on top of that, you had people dripping water that created a greater demand on the well. And so the one thing we want to do in this grant process, if at all possible, we want to apply for $1 million for the well, and then up to $150,000 to help with some of these ancillary cost on the pipeline repairs. And if this is approved, the city will be reimbursed the funding on that. So I really do appreciate Director Floyd. I appreciate what everyone on her staff is doing. And Mayor, I'll send a reminder out, but I would like to just go back to our conversation, our lunch in December. The mayor, myself, and members of the East Arkansas Planning and Development District were talking about funding options and what we needed to do last December. And the mayor had an idea. He said, well, can't we just bring everybody to Helena? And so that's what we're doing on next, a week from today at 10:30 at the college. We're having, to my knowledge, a first in the history of the city, a funders roundtable with all the agencies that we can think of that can help with this situation with both West Helena, the Helena system, and including down the road looking at wastewater. I know everyone's got busy schedules, but 10:30 to approximately 1, lunch will be served. If you could only make part of the meeting, I think funders, they love to see interest. They love to see elected officials because this is, our vital future. So, Mayor, subject to y'all's questions, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards and Mr. Wyland. The next item on the agenda would be Miss Mary Stevens. And I'm not trying to speak for her, but she's been before this administration several times. I can't remember the number. And she's talked with previous one about a drainage flooding related issue that's caused damage under their structure there. It's on Panama Road, and I think that's Bonanza Street. And Mr. Wyland did a report and shared it with us that we had very little fall from Panama Road over to Washington Street, and there were some areas that needed some maintenance work, and he estimated that to be about $30,000. I think that part the city and Mr. Wyland can work out. I think Ms. Stevens may be here for a different thing, and that is her concern is what is the city going to do about her building. But I'll let her speak for herself since she's here. Ms. Mary Stevens.
Hello. As Mr. Valley said, he actually just summed it up for me. But as you know, I've been here several times about our building on Panama Road, about the ditch that lies beside our building that did damage to up under the structure. So I'm here again. I have gave like 2 proposals on the amount of how much it will cost to get our floor fixed. And I'm just here again, trying to get everything solved because like I said, I've been waiting for, oh my God. I've been waiting a while. I think the last I spoke with Mr. Valley, he said he'll reach out to the chief of staff, and then the last I spoke with Miss Sandy, she told me that they would have Mr. Mike and I'm here about, oh, he here, about what's going on with the ditch beside our buildings. So I don't know what he have or I guess Mr. Valley
And
talked
Mr.
enough
Mike,
for him too.
Can you tell, Mr. Mike?
Yes, sir, council, mayor, same report, we did do some shot taking and, seeing what the problem was, and we turned it into the chief of staff, same report that he has. So, that'll be up to the city or you all to figure out who moves forward next with the process.
That's just basically 30,000.
Yes, sir,
And
28 to 30,000 roughly estimate.
But that 30,000 was for cleaning the drainage to help move the water. Yeah, but Miss Mary's concern is her building itself, which is somewhat separate.
but this will hopefully fix the actual flooding issue.
I couldn't say it's gonna fix it.
Okay.
It's a low area.
Okay.
Maybe-
Yeah, that was our, cause if I recall correctly, that was one of our issues. It was like, okay, there was a whole nother issue about, fixing it and, the legal aspects, because, where the position we sit as a city, but then there was also the other aspect of, there would still be issues with that area because of the drop off and those things. And if that aspect was even gonna be repaired and what it would cost to fix it. But
Well, even though if you go out there and do that, who says you had 3 inches of rain in 30 minutes, still may be a problem with drain and runoff.
but basically, there's really no way to fix it. It's just, it'll always be a flooding issue.
The act of Mother Nature you're working against.
Okay.
So cleaning it out will help it drain. Yes.
And actually, honestly, it didn't used to do that. We had that building since 2012, but I know our building never flooded like that.
Yeah, I don't know why I was under the impression that, y'all were gonna have more like a plan of actually
Yes, sir. Did they get a look at this?
fixing this.
I believe it's been submitted, Steve, that
Okay.
gave us,
Okay.
showed us the rise and fall, where the culverts were, like on Coanda Street, there by Breathing Holder's house. That one was probably over 50% blocked and stuff like that. Those need to be cleared out. And there's been some ditch work, but it hasn't been completed. And that's what we're talking about, the $30,000 to complete cleaning all those ditches out all the way over to Washington Street. But once you do that, the water should move out more quickly. But as he described, 3 inches of rain quickly, it's gonna sit until it can get out. Because all that water eventually, if you're following me, it starts there by Jackson High Funeral Home, and it goes to New Haven Church, and then it goes south. If you can imagine that. That's what it does.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My wife also, she left out. We had it fixed twice. The second time is when we found out the guy was like, we keep doing this, we can steady fix it, but the problem gonna steady come back. That's when we found out we had to talk to you all. Cause like I said, we had it fixed first time, guy didn't say nothing, but the second time, guy was like, this problem gonna stay to happen unless they do something about this water building up coming in. But she just left that part out.
Okay.
We have replaced it twice ourselves.
The wishes of the council, what would y'all like to do?
I gave them estimates already. Gave them to them.
So they did bring us estimates. It's been a while, but they brought us the estimates and put them on the table to us several times. So I think one was, I think the lowest was like 30 something. But if you want, Ms. Reynolds, do you have a copy of those estimates of So,
It's like 30 and then it went up to like 32.
yeah, so inclined, so it's up to you all. It's over my spend limit, so I have to defer to you all on what you all like to do with it. If you all want to get it fixed, it's up to you all. There are other issues on 7th Street as well, but they've been here before. We have a lot of issues like this in our community we need to address, but they're here now. So I'm at y'all, just whatever y'all
I
want.
mean, we would have never known. I mean, honestly, we thought it was on us.
Yeah.
We thought it was on us because we had to fix like twice. And then when the man went back under there, we had a bad storm come in. And like he said, the water just stopped pouring up under the building. So he got from under our building and he followed the trail.
He did that.
And it was like,
Mike was there.
he said there's nothing until that problem was fixed. We'll be just spending money.
You all need some time, or you all want we look at the estimate again, because they said
We wouldn't be here if the guy wasn't told it was on the ditch, the city, in other words, we wouldn't be here. Like when we started saying we did it twice. And the second guy was just smart enough to realize it was the ditch coming up under our building, softening our floor.
Like I said, they never did that at first because it used to be, before we got the building, it was a garden.
Yeah.
So they grew fresh fruits and vegetables out in the garden. And then when we got it, it wasn't flooding like it's doing now.
Or what you're saying is that the ditches need cleaning out? and
So
need-
the ditch,
So
from
the water
my,
can flow.
from my understanding, the ditch needed to
Like they
be
say.
cleaned out from what Mr. Mike was
We
saying.
need to do that.
And by it's not being cleaned out is have damaged our structure up on our building.
I think the only thing that troubles me a little bit is would I want for us to be able to pay for that and repair it? Yes. My concern is, from what I'm hearing from Mr. Alexander, is that even right now, if they go, they clear it out, they, do all of that work, there's a possibility that when it rains again, it's still going to be a standing water issue. So, and so let's say that we were to vote right now to pay you and you go and you get it fixed. And they come behind and they clean it, they repair, they do all that they can. And then 6 months, a year down the line, it happens again. I mean, how do we do that effectively?
So actually what was told to us, if the ditch is cleaned out, one of the proposals that I have over there was from Mr. Lewis. He said if the ditch is cleaned out and the water is flowing like it should, he said it's a pump that he can, I guess, put either up under our building or in that vicinity and dig a trench to make that water go another way instead of coming up under our building. So that's what Mr.
Did before too.
That's what Mr. Lewis told me. So he was the second proposal I got to bring over to you guys. So that's
Excuse me, Mike, you remember telling us something like that at the funeral home?
some of the pump,
Something with a pump out some dirt where it could go another way? You remember?
a trench
And a
with a
trench.
pump or something.
Okay.
A flood pump. Yeah.
Well, once you clean them out, yeah.
so. It look like we should get the ditch working first. We should get the ditch issue resolved first. So we need to get the ditch issue solved. Once we get the ditch issue solved, then we should fix their floors. So there's when you fix their floors, and you'll run back to the same problem again. So, Mr. Weiland and whatever you all suggested, like we need to get started on that so we can get that issue fixed first, then take care of the floor second. Because if we don't fix the issue, we'll be right back in the same situation, and our floor need to be fixed.
All of us
So-
be unhappy again,
Right.
everyone.
So-
City, us, me and my wife, all of us.
So I think, whatever it is, we need to see what the engineer proposed for us to do to get this issue taken care of. Once the issue is resolved, then we'll come back to you all to make sure we fix your issue, since we know it won't happen, so it won't happen again.
And
So Mr. Ken, you all have a proposal together to go ahead and start to work on Mrs. Stevens and property, ditch by their property?
That's correct. Wow. You know, I was in a hornet's nest when you start talking about people's homes flooding, especially here in the Delta, because a lot of times, people say, why did we flood? It was just a matter of we got too much rain. This is a flat area. The ditch, if you look at the report, there are, and look, it's not the only ditch, you know, most of your ditches in town, you know, haven't been cleaned out in a long time. Most ditches in most towns have not been cleaned out. And so the culverts become full of debris, siltation, the ditches. And so the water is just rising to get to the outlet. Cleaning the ditch out certainly will help that area and really a lot of the surrounding areas. But it is not going to stop. You're exactly right. You get the right rainfall event and it's going to overwhelm that small ditch. It's just a small drainage ditch. Now, the report basically said, hey, I sent a survey crew out. What we did for the city, we sent a survey crew out and we surveyed the culverts and points of the ditch in between the culverts. And if you look at that little report, that's what the little red is. That red is basically siltations. There's a straight line, which is basically the grade from the outlet on this culvert, the inlet on that culvert should be connected with a straight line. And as y'all all know, what happens in a ditch, it looks like this in between it and sometimes like this right in front of it. How many times have you seen a culvert underneath someone's driveway? The culvert's a round culvert. But when you look at it, it's about this much, a little catfish mouth up above. People say, hey, it's flooding my carport. And I said, you need to get your shovel and clean that pipe out. Well, you've got that just a little bit bigger way. But the report basically, we cut it off so that we wouldn't have to charge the city for a lot of work until it kind of got to a stopping point so that the city could decide that, hey, you can pay us to develop a set of plans and specs and go through the full, advertising, get a contractor. If the city has the means of cleaning it out with some of their equipment, we can come in and help you with at least establishing the grades that your crews can clean it out too. So you may be able to do it cheaper if you have manpower. And right now, manpower and equipment is in short supply because we're in the middle of this horrible water situation. So it's really kind of a decision on the part of the council as to how you want to proceed. But obviously, the recommendation is to clean that ditch, just like it is on any of the ditches, and it will help. It will help. It's going to take more water away from that area. And so what you hope is that the events that really hurt become farther apart and maybe not quite as bad. It takes the height of it off and it hopefully spreads out the event because it takes more rainfall now. Those rainfalls 1 year, 2 year, 3 year storms. So it takes a 5 year storm to reach the same level as what has been just a little 1 year storm. It makes any sense that you follow that? So that's what cleaning out the ditches are all about. But here in the Delta, drainage is tough. And we get these severe events. And my office, right down here, water be right up to my doorstep. Okay, and we got storm drains clogged up, and so I know exactly what you're talking about. Now sometimes we can't even get in my office. We have to park in the back and try to step off onto the step. The water is completely covering our back parking.
Part of the issue, I think, too, is I think from an emotional standpoint, I want to say, yeah, let's just go ahead and fix it. However, I don't want to run contrary to what the city's actual liability is based on my feelings. And in that case, I mean, we would refer to what does our city attorney say about that? I don't want to be the one to say, well, I'm not going to listen to what he says. I mean, this is what I think we should do. And so I think we're back to that point.
What about city liability or city responsibility?
Yes.
I think the city needs to clean up the ditches. As far as going on her property and fixing damages and that kind of thing, I think that the city is not liable for that, the damage of her actual property. But the prevention, the future prevention, clean out the ditches and doing the things they can, I think it's in all the citizens in the area's best interest for the city to take action to clean the ditches and clean out the culverts and et cetera, so the water can flow better. I think that if I remember my proposal correctly, they want a reimbursement for damage to their property, but I don't think the city is liable for that. I think the city needs to fix the actual drainage issue and resolve that to release the pressure throughout the entire neighborhood.
But it is the city's responsibility to keep the ditches cleaned out.
Yes, sir. This is
Because it wasn't doing that, like my wife said before, it wasn't doing that. It used to do it, I get through time, trash getting in and grass wasn't being cut, it started doing it through time. But
Yes,
once
sir.
upon a time, it wasn't doing it at all. But I think through time, there's trash and grass and one being taken care of problems.
So, but this was, Mr. Wilder, you said that you would help us, so we're gonna get this ditch cleaned out immediately. So I know we're under a water crisis, but we can we can get with Mr. Collins to go ahead and get the process of getting this ditch dug out for you all, and we'll go from there. Cause we wanna make it right. So what we'll do is, if you have some time this week, I'll go with Mr. Collins, the street department, and see if they can go ahead and start, and you see you're willing to assist us, tell us what we need to do, and we'll get it done within the next couple of years. Because I know we got this water issue, but I don't want the rain to come back and then we at a worse situation. But we're gonna let us get your ditch taken care of, and then we'll go from there. And you won't keep getting the pushback. I apologize. Nobody want to keep hearing somebody say they're sorry when they still got damage. But let us get this ditch taken care of. And probably Miss Reyes is probably the second meeting in March. You all come to see us.
Okay.
So we'll get Mr. Wellens, Mr. Ken, if you will, give Mr. Collins so we can go ahead and start getting that ditch worked on, starting sometime this week. If we have to find a contractor to come out and help us do that, and that's what we'll do. We want to get the ditch taken care of, Mr. Stevenson. Once we get the ditch taken care of, we'll get you all taken care of.
Okay.
All
I want
right,
to make
thank
sure,
you.
and I apologize. I know nobody wants to keep being delayed, but
Y'all have a good evening.
you too. Thank you all.
All right.
I was about to say, Your Honor, Mr. Mayor, the next group on our agenda is Mr. Howard Eden and it's a group about a building project. And for our next city council meeting, I don't know if we're gonna meet on election night or not, but we're gonna try to get Mr. Cal Woodridge to come in and make a report on a couple of building projects that are going in the city. It'd be good for the citizens to hear about it and for the city council to hear about those.
And I was going to discuss with the council, we probably want to move that March 5th meeting back. So because it is an election panel, I want to make sure everybody gets that next Tuesday. If you all will think about moving the city council meeting back to the next Tuesday. Mr. Eden.
Yes, sir. You guys hear me okay? Well, thank you guys for the opportunity, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Mr. Chief of Staff, for the opportunity to come and speak before you tonight. Before I get started, I did want to just commend the mayor and the city council for the work you guys are doing with removing the blight in the city. I think the first time I had a chance to talk with the mayor probably 4 months ago. And then just about a month ago, I share with him every time I come to town now, where I used to see nothing but blight. I really appreciate the fact that you guys are taking a more strategic approach to making sure on the inways and outways and some of the major thoroughfares within the city that we're targeting those first, right? Because an investor is important. I'm from here, and so I know what this community is and what it can be, and so I don't worry about that because I know we're taking care of it. But for strangers and visitors that come into the community that's looking for a place to invest or come in to help, that makes a big difference, right? That's the first thing they see is the impression they make, right? The second thing too is very exciting to hear about the improvements that we're making with the water situation, right? As an investor, that's important for me to know that the city takes that seriously and also that we're working together as a community to fix it, right? That's a big part of infrastructure and really key on my mind as well. But tonight I'm here to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. Most of you that know me know I'm from here, my family's here. I've been an investor in the Helena-West community since I opened my daycare back in 2009, right? So 13 years that business has been out in West Helena. And in the last 4 years or so, I've become a significant investor in real estate in the area with the primary focus of helping solve problems for low housing for low income people, okay? And so at this point, my team and I have about 80 units that we rent to citizens of Helena, West Helena. You know, we are heavily invested in more acquisitions, but what we found over the time frame is the more and more properties we look at, there needs so much work, right? That is really not worth the investment for us to make in acquiring some of the current properties. And what we hear and see every day, right now, we've got about 50 people on our waiting list that calls us for needing homes, okay? We work very closely with the Section 8 folks. I know that they've got at least 140 to 150 people on their waiting list looking for homes. They call us every week asking us if we've got homes available, okay? And so about 8 months ago, I had a realization that there's a housing shortage in Helena, West Helena. So what I see is inventory being shrank because the projects are being torn down, houses aren't being repaired, but we still got people that need homes, okay? And I know that there's probably 20 or 30% of people in our community that are what I call underhoused, right? So what does that mean? They live in a place that's probably they shouldn't live in, or it's too small, they got too many kids, that type of thing, right? And so I say all that to lead to the fact that about 6 months ago, I decided one of the things I want to do to help contribute to rebuilding Helena and providing people what they need is to do a new housing development in the area, right? And this is just one phase of several in my mind that I think the community will support in terms of the need. But also, I believe this can be a catalyst to help spur additional economic growth in the area as well. And so what I'm proposing in partnership with some other developers that I work with is for us to enter a partnership with the city of Helena, West Helena, where we would enter a lease for Washington Street Park. Okay, so why that park? That park is about 12.2 acres. And when we look at that area, infrastructure wise, it would make a lot more sense for us to use that as a starting place because we can expedite a development because there's not a lot of things on the land right now, okay? One of the biggest things when it comes to trying to do new housing development is how can you acquire the land at the cheapest cost possible? Because you talk about low income housing, you have to really find a way to take out a lot of the costs, whether it be through cheap land acquisition, getting tax credits from local, state, and federal governments, or things like that that help drive down the cost so that you can make it work from a low income standpoint. And so we would love to have the council consider allowing us to enter a lease with the city where we acquire Washington Street Park and convert that park to a community of 100 units, where we'd have a mix of townhousing units and also apartment buildings. And if you look in your packet, there should be a design that we prepared to give you an idea about what the rendering would look like. And so with our development team, one of the keys to what we want to do is build communities in these areas and not just go put houses up. Right? We want to have a living, thriving community that can survive on its own. And so when you look at the plan layout, it still includes preserving quite a bit of the space to maintain a park for use by the people that live over there in the city, but also having maintenance and management on the site, in addition to walking trails and those kinds of things, right? So we want to be a thriving community that something Helena-West can be proud of, right? And so we come before you guys tonight to ask for you to partner with us in helping solve such a critical thing for the city, and certainly give us some assistance to help me continue my investment in the area to help solve a very critical need for the city from a housing standpoint. And so with that, that's a good summary. So I'll stop and open it up for questions.
You already secured the funding for the building of the.
No, so Mr. Miller, part of the process here is once we identify a site and we can secure the site, and that's when we go through the process of securing the financing for the project. When you look at Helena-West Helena, there's a lot of funding available because one, where we're located, two, I think we're under 10,000 people now. So there's a lot of federal state tax credits and things that you can get. Plus, in this area, in a lot of areas like Helena-West Helena, there's a huge housing need. And so the government doesn't want to be in housing. They rather find people like myself who have a strong tie to communities like this that will make the investment, bring in the expertise and do it versus them doing it, right? So we feel very confident that we'll secure the funding.
Will the park still be available to all citizens?
Yeah, we don't plan to make the park exclusive just to folks that live there. It'll still be open to all citizens of Helena-West Helena.
And it also still will maintain its name, the Water LCM Memorial Park, or would you change it, or we just?
Yeah, so we are definitely, we're not tied to any name for the park. I think what we proposed in the plan was the Washington Street Park Housing Development. I think it's what is in the proposal.
Yes, sir.
But it's certainly something that, things like that, we want to work closely with the city and the council for things that will need to keep the uniqueness of it. We certainly are open to those kinds of things.
So will the city receive property taxes from your apartments and townhouses?
I'm sorry?
Will the city receive property property taxes from your property?
Yeah, so we're not at a point where we have decided that. Typically, when you do projects like this, there's things that the city and local government will provide as incentives to help make the project work. And so as we go through the funding process of trying to find the stacks, and then we'll come back and partner with the city on things that we may need assistance with further, like infrastructure to build plumbing and all those kinds of things. But certainly only at a level where we feel like it's necessary for us to make the project work, understanding where the city is currently from a financial standpoint. And I think because you own the park, it's a good way to help make the project work because there's an asset that you can put in the project that helps us make the project work, if that makes sense.
Do we have a motion? Okay. Well, city attorney, you need to look and review anything?
One of the other things too, I'll say to Ms. Harris's question, so when you do a project like this, we're thinking 14 to 17 million dollars of spend that's gonna happen in the community.
Yeah.
And so with our organization, we really look to try and use as many local qualified people, contractors as possible. In addition, once we complete the project, there'll be additional folks we're gonna have to hire to manage the project, to do maintenance on the projects and those kinds of things as well. So there'll be significant ongoing positive impact on the community from a revenue standpoint. Like right now, in my 80 properties, I've had to hire 3 people full-time that manage that for me every day, right? And so because we've grown so much, I had to hire people, and those people live right here and they all work full-time.
I think there's some hesitation with the 99-year lease proposed amount at $1 a year. You know, over the years, you know, there have been engagements where not necessarily the city, but other entities have done those kinds of agreements.
Mhm.
And, you know, later there was a little concern about it. Here's my concern. And I like the idea of having, you know, that area and you have the apartments and the homes and all that. But we have other housing agencies or corporations or businesses that have come and built houses like down on Ohio, up in the Hollow, different places, and they're totally abandoned. They're blight themselves. And so, you know, you've been here a long time, and I know your daycare's been here a long time. So how are you planning to sort of, hopefully get around that and that not be the case with your.
Yeah, so what I'll tell you, I mean, I hope my track record kind of speaks for itself. I've been investing in the town even before we're asking to kind of take our impact to a whole new level, to impact more people. I believe fundamentally the way I do business, I try and make sure I dot all my I's and cross my T's, make sure we got a solid plan before we execute. And so this is just one project of many that we've envisioned that we're going to do across the city, right? And so 100 units is just a start. I guarantee you by the time we announce that and start building, we'll be ready to start building phase 2 because the need is so substantial. We're not going, my family lives here. I'm like one of the only ones that don't live within 2 hours of Helena, right? And so I'm here at least a week out of every month. You know, typically I meet with different people just trying to get involved and help solve problems. And I think the biggest contribution I can make is from the housing side, right? And I also have other significant investments with other commercial spaces here too. So I'm not going anywhere. And so certainly we want to make sure we build something that the community can be proud of, right? I don't know many people that have come before us that put together a really comprehensive total community design outside of putting a couple of houses on the block and calling it a day. So yeah, so I think we just do everything we can to make sure, one, we start with a great plan, but two, for me, you know, I'll do things like this until the good Lord calls me home because I'm passionate about it and I want to help. There's no guarantees, right? But I'll tell you, we'll do everything we can to make sure, one, we have a great plan start now, but two, we build things people want to live in. Right? We're not going to build anything that looks like a project or, you know, stuff like that. We want people to feel proud of where they live, their community, because that's a big part of helping people change their mindset about what's possible. Right? I'm not going to put up anything that looks like anything that's already here because, you know, people just don't feel any joy or they don't feel any sense of pride about it. Right? So.
This reminds me of the conversation we met the gentleman who came to Mr. Whitwell came to sell the hospital. And this is just a story. He came to sell the hospital. And he met with a few people here, elected officials, and he was just introducing himself and saying, this is what I want to do, and this is the plan that I have, and this is what we've done. And I pulled him aside and I said, sounds great. I said, what are the people who oppose this going to say? What are they going to say? Why are they going to tell us we shouldn't do it? He said, I can't think of a reason why anybody would not want to do this. I said, but there's always opposition. There's always opposition. Somebody's going to say you shouldn't do this for this reason. And he said, well, I just can't think of anything. I said, but there's something is coming. When you say we want to buy the hospital, somebody's going to say, no, don't do it. Don't do it. And I said, you need to know what the response is going to be because I don't know how to respond to it. What am I saying? We just got it tonight. And so my position is I don't even know what questions to ask at this point. So it sounds great to me. We do need housing. I agree on 110% we need housing. It sounds like a great plan. But tonight I don't know what questions to ask. And so I personally need time to think about it, consume it, and then I can call you and ask any questions that I have or whatever, and just seek out other information as to because there's going to be a downside to it somewhere. At least somebody's going to say there's a downside to it. And I would like to know, as a person voting on anything at this table, I like to know what I just agreed to and why I did it. And right now, I can't tell the person who has the negative comment why I did it. In light of any opposition that they made, did you think about this? Did you think about that? All I can say right now, no, I didn't even think about that. So I'm just saying I would like an opportunity to study it and understand it. I can talk to Mr. Eden and ask him questions and he can give me some feedback on it.
Yeah, one of the things we tried to do, it's in the packet of info we laid out an actual lease agreement that spells out responsibilities for both parties should we enter into an agreement. There's also an operating agreement as well that basically lays out what that looks for. And I think in the agreement, it succinctly says that we can only use the property to do the housing development. So it's not like we can acquire the property and then all of a sudden do something different. I think the second benefit for the city is, I don't know what kind of expense you have for maintaining the park and all those kinds of things, but I think one of the things that we've agreed to do, should we have an agreement, is we would take on all responsibility for maintaining it and all those kinds of things as we work toward finalizing our plan for development, securing our funding, and all those kinds of things, right? The last thing I'll tell you guys is when I think about our community, there's some of us that are in charge of leading others, right? And so because so many people have had such struggle for a long time, it's hard for people to always pull everybody along because someone's going to be negative. That's just the way it is. And sometimes when we're trying to do big things, we have to pull people along, right? We do, right? And so, and again, I think if I stood before you guys tonight, having had no investment in the area and just kind of came in with an idea, that's one thing. But because I have been here, I am investing millions of dollars here, even knowing that there's challenges. What that should tell all of you is that I believe you can fix them. Because I wouldn't if I didn't think you could fix it. I think we've got the right people. I like to see the fact that you guys are all working together now to solve big problems. And I'm a strong believer that Helena and West Helena is going to be a beacon of success that people are going to talk about 10 years from now. Right? I believe we're going to make a great comeback. And that's why I'm here tonight. So, but I appreciate your comments, Mr. Eppley.
I like it. I like your idea. I think this is good.
It's comprehensive.
It certainly be an improvement in our community. I commend you for looking into this. But I was just given this tonight, and I'm would like to look it over and maybe at the next meeting be able to ask a question. But yes, I think this is very good for our community. And I commend you for looking into this like this. There is a housing shortage, I know that for a fact, that people need a place to stay. But we've got to have some time. But
Mr. E, will you be available to meet the second meeting in March?
We can make it work.
Okay.
I'll look at the calendar. What date is that?
March 12th.
March, that's the first, man. The 21st.
Oh, the second.
Yeah, second.
This year will be, otherwise February, March have the same dates.
21st should be fine, yeah.
So,
Week before we're on spring break, I think.
so would you all agree to meet the second meeting in March for Mr. E? Ms. Davis, yes, okay, so
Our city attorney had an opportunity to look into this.
I looked into some of it. I have some questions I'll go meet with the legal counsel about, but I've looked into it. 19th, yeah.
I'll check.
so that's fine with the 19th of March, is fine with everybody around the table? Yeah.
And my contact information is there as well, so if anyone wants to reach out to me directly, we certainly can do that as well. Cool. Anything else?
I thank him. I'm looking forward to working with you, Mr. E.
All right,
I
thank
like
you
what you're
guys,
doing.
appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the remainder of your agenda is, I believe, bills to be considered for payment.
Well, yeah, I gave you all some bills from the water department. During the emergency, I want you all to look at those. There are some I gave you before. Like I said, I just want you all to see. Mr. Rose, did you have a chance to look at these bills?
Yes.
So you in
I just want to add while you all are looking at those invoices, our subcontractors have been critical to our distribution system and getting these leaks repaired. Between Quattapond, Delta Plumbing, and also Crawford, that's all the bills you'll see in front of you. They all combined fixed over 80-something leaks within the last 2-3 weeks. All right, and so what that has allowed us to do as a staff, and we're still definitely under manpower, is increase our response time, which is critical right now to maintaining both of our systems with West Helena and Helena, but essentially for West Helena, just kind of going back to what Mr. Ken and actually Mr. Edwards both mentioned, it's critical that we keep our plant run time down, and also our water loss down, and which it is at right now. And I want to just give you guys a current update. We're still at about 550. We're a little less than where we were last time I spoke on this, on our water loss. And our plant run time for our West Helena treatment plant is between 9 and 11 hours. And so that's the lowest it has ever been in quite some time. And so right now we're at about 15 leaks in West Helena. And so most of that is valves, and we having some new leaks. But like I say, with the contractors, our response time is a lot greater. So we're getting on these new leaks that's popping up immediately. And so we got to keep this pace up. Yes, we may be out the crisis stage, but we're still responding urgently as if we're still in the crisis. And so this is a pace we're going to have to keep up for quite some time. And just to kind of mention to that for just our staff, while we're working with the contractors, we're also executing on the service side, because another thing that is causing loss is inactive services. All right. And so inactive services could be basically a service that's removed on our end, but water loss is still happening on the customer side, maybe because a meter, wasn't removed, or possibly a jumper in there. We're not going to get into details about that, but there's various variables that we have to consider when it comes to inactive services. So we're actually making sure that we're going across all inactive services in West Helena, and we're going to do it in Helena as well, and making sure we're not missing any water loss that we're not detecting. And so all of this is happening together, and I can go on and on and on, but just for what's in front of you, it's been a major contribution to
where we're at right now currently. Y'all have any questions for me while I'm up here?
Chief of Staff, you got any questions?
Thank you for the work you do.
Oh, no problem. Keep that.
And these invoices are some of those that Mr. Edwards made reference to that we may be able to get reimbursed for. And I don't want it to sound like you're gonna get double reimbursed, but we're gonna first submit them to Arkansas Natural Resource Commission as a part of the temporary emergency loan that we got for the $100,000 for this crisis. And those invoices are gonna probably eat up much of that money, if not all of it, between the contractors.
So what are you asking for us tonight to
That's like,
pay these bills?
Correct.
Well, I make a motion that we do so.
Mr. State Columbia make a motion to pay the bills I laid out for y'all tonight. Dr. Miller seconds the motion. Any discussion?
That's all of these that we have here.
Is that all of them in the agenda? That's all of them.
Yeah, well, all, because we had some from the previous meeting
Yeah,
too.
they've done the work and we need to
Yeah,
pay it.
from we had some in the previous meeting too.
Yeah.
So those as well as these.
They should be in this packet.
Well, yeah.
For the water department.
Might it help to clarify the invoices for Delta Plumbing, Autobahn Plumbing, and Andre Crawford Plumbing?
Yeah.
Mr. That's your motion? That's your second? So any discussion? Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Ms. David? Mr. St. Columbia?
Yeah.
Dr. Miller? Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Etherly?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, there was something from the fire department that's in your packet. I'm not looking at the packet, but there was something to be approved on the fire department. It's an expenditure. And then there was the, I believe the clerk may have passed you out some pictures. Are those pictures of the Galloway concern? And so we need you to decide what to do on that particular thing.
Right.
And
Yeah, this is Galloway. I make a motion that we pay that bill also.
how much is that, Mr. St. Columbia?
It's $2,000. That's for the cleanup and for the destruction of some of the furniture that you saw in your pictures.
Yeah,
Plus the $452.18 for the February electrical bill.
So you said that's plus the electrical bill.
Yes, sir. She submitted the electrical bill. It's
I had it all here.
There was
the
a
mail date was
conversation.
1/11.
Miss Galloway had a conversation. She did call me. And I'm just gonna say what happened. There was some discussion about the gas bill. I shared with her that my understanding is that the $1,500 would cover, because up until this point, I can't recall us ever having paid for a gas bill. So, you know, I was hoping she would be here, said that she would not be asking for that $400.
Okay.
That she was requesting the $1,500 and then the $500 for the destruction of the property.
Okay.
So it's a total of $2,000. Is that right?
I'd like to make a motion to pay less than 2,000.
Mrs. Harris makes the motion to pay Mrs. Galloway $2,000.
And second,
Mrs. St. Columbia and Mrs. Miller second the motion. Any discussion?
One point, we budgeted, $25,000 for contracting and animal control.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I would ask that it come out of that particular budget item.
And Mr. Anthony wants it to come out of the animal control.
Ms. Harris, you accept the amendment that Mr. Ethelyn suggests.
Yeah.
Mr. Columbia, do you accept it in your second?
What's the motion?
Mr. Ethelyn wants your motion to be amended, her second be amended to reflect It's coming out of $25,000 budget for animal control.
To pay less.
Yeah, whatever we have to do.
Any discussion?
Any way you pay.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Etherly?
Yeah.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Davis? Dr. Miller? Ms. Harris?
Yeah.
Mr. St. Columbia?
Yes.
Mr. Chief of Staff, did you find the one for the fire uniforms in your computer?
I got the computer now, yes.
Okay.
This diesel uniform,
It's yes, it's from EEP. They don't need the uniforms now. But historically, we have tried, the city general fund has tried to help them out because these are items that cannot come out of their Act 833 funds.
Right.
And of course, you know, they have their fundraisers to help out too, so the city might not have to do the entire amount, 13,000 or 16,000, I think it is, but they don't need them right now.
we're looking at pages 16 and 17 of your packet, the numbered packet. On the page 16, it's the $13,482. And on page 17, it's $2,982.17.
Yeah, at least for that.
Yes, a motion to approve the purchase of those items
Yeah.
from general fund.
Ms. Miller moves to approve the fire department expenditures. Mr. St. Columbia seconds the motion. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Dr. Miller? Mr. St. Columbia?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Etherly?
Yes.
Ms. Davis? Ms. Harris?
Yeah.
6 yes.
6 years.
The final item, I believe, is on page 29 of the packet.
Mr. Valley, before you go there,
Yes, sir.
we missed something on the water. There's a receipt, an invoice, I'm sorry, attached to the packet that we got tonight from Jones Hydro, and it wasn't included in the motion.
Oh, the $10,000.
Right.
Yeah, we had a high service pump at the Helena plant to have an electrical fire and burn up within the last week and a half or so. And so Jones Hydro came down out of Stuttgart and made the immediate repair so we can keep water service going. So we do need authority to pay that.
Just make a new motion.
Let's make a motion.
Jones Hydro.
Ms. Miller makes a motion to pay Jones Hydro. Is there a second?
Okay.
Ms. Miller, Ms. St. Columbia seconds the motion. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Davis? Mr. St. Columbia?
Yes.
Dr. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Etherly?
Yes.
Ms. Miller? Yes. 6 yes.
Thanks, Tom.
We're trying to pay him. Soon as we get it.
Okay, so now, final agenda item is at page 29. Page 29 of the report, MJ Communication for some radios for the street department.
Yeah,
I believe that quote,
I saw that somewhere.
Yeah.
$5,787.99.
yeah, it's sideways on my device.
Yeah, I seen.
The radio.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
We need a motion.
okay.
Do we need a motion?
I'm moving with the bill.
Mrs. St. Columbia moves to repay MJ Communication. Mrs. Harris seconds the motion. Any discussion?
Is this coming out of street fund?
It's coming out of street funds.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Anthony. Madam Clerk?
Who seconded it? Ms. Harris? Mr. Etherly?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Davis? Dr. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. St. Columbia?
Yes.
6 yes.
All right, the only thing you have left that you haven't dealt with on the agenda is the minutes, and I don't know if you were ready to deal with those tonight or not. They can wait, if you ask me.
That is a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know that we can do this, but Attorney Etherly, I think, made an excellent suggestion when he suggested that we set aside $1 million from the possible proceeds from the hospital to go to the well. So are we also going to set aside $1 million to pay all existing debt? Can we do that?
I don't, well, yes, but I don't wanna pay off all our debt. We'd have some money put aside. But that's up to you all, but I would suggest you take, cause you got so many things going. What, you wanna put some aside? You can, you all in charge of finance, so you all can do what you all feel that you need to do, but I would say you wouldn't pay all your debt off. You would pay your debt down, so you would have some money in case we get another emergency or something happens. Mr. Valley?
There are two things, that some of it is disputed. And so, you want to set aside as much as you want to set aside. You want to set aside $1 million, that's the will of the council, that's what you all do. Some of the debts are disputed and you may not be paying those. But it's up to the will of the council what you want to do. The mayor just stated that we should pay them down and still have some funds left for reserve. It's up to you all what you all want to do.
Let me make a suggestion from the old man seat. And that is, don't do anything with any of that money until you get your city solvent. You're not solvent. Your rate study is about to be done. Once you get your city solvent, then you start making those decisions, what you do with the money. But if you spend it now, you're not solvent, you're gonna remain insolvent.
So if we're paying off and getting rid of existing debt, then we're not incurring interest charges and we're not making payment. I mean, could we not offset some by taking care of that, or at least if not a full million, $500,000, and say that's what we're gonna put in the bank and that's going towards that bottom line that Miss Sandy has?
What I'm saying about solvent, I mean, the solvency would be the plan. You understand? So you can deal with all of it at once, but once you deal with your rate, because part of your insolvency and part of the reason you're not going to be solvent is that we're continually to spend money in the water department that it doesn't have. And it's taken away from the other departments. And so until we get those things leveled off, you're gonna continue to bleed over there.
If I may, my motion, if you take a look at your minutes, my motion was to put the entire $3 million into a separate account and dedicate or earmark $1 million towards the construction of a well. And so the reason why I said that like that is because I had in my mind sanitation needs trucks repaired immediately. We can't front end loader, you can't empty the dumpsters. It's just landfill needs equipment. I was thinking of all the different things and I was like, there's not enough money to do everything immediately. So I thought that if we put it in one account, we earmark $1 million, we still have $2 million. And we can go through and prioritize all the things that need to be done. And it may be that we can't pay off all the debt at once. And I agree with the mayor. Sometimes, some debt is beneficial at some points. I don't know what it all is, but we have some things that I can think of in my mind based on the reports that we've given and what I see every day. Which would be sanitation. They've been asking for trucks for a year. Landfill's been asking for equipment for a year. The need to actually repair leaks on a continuous basis until the well gets constructed will not go away. And if we don't have the cash to do it, we don't have the manpower to do it, we need the contractors, and if we can't pay them, they probably won't work. And so I just thought of a lot of things in my mind, and that's why I said, let's just put it all in one account. And let's nickel and dime it to the things that we have to do when it comes up until we get clear. And I agree with Mr. Valley, until we get the rate study completed. Where are we on the rate study anyway?
We believe it's gonna be submitted to them this week, and then it'd be on the rate study guys, Arkansas Rural Water, to get it done. But the city treasurer has provided us with all the information that we've been trying to get from him. And the rest of it is relatively superficial that we're doing, but we're working on that, and we're gonna check with the city attorney on a small piece. But that should be submitted to rural water before the end of this week.
But my mind says we have to be strategic about it because we got more stuff we can shake a stick at right now. So I just thought we need to be strategic about what we do. That was my mindset. And of course, everybody.
But also, let's be clear on this. There's no intent to shaft any of our people that we owe. The intention is just to pay them. It's a matter of how we go about doing it. And we don't want to pay them and end up back in a rut if we can avoid it.
May I ask a question? Can anybody tell me when the money's coming?
Nobody told me.
Not here.
No, I've called the lawyer almost every day, and we're trying to get a closing date. And so we're waiting on a closing date. The environmental studies have been done and other things have been done. But I didn't speak to Mr. Stoner today. I spoke with him Friday's last day I spoke with him. But I've been trying to call him to see, okay, we didn't know when, so we can go ahead and get the project completed.
He told me that the money was sitting there waiting to be paid, but there's some other stuff had to be done before they could pay.
We need to look, I agree, we need to look closely at our bills that we have, some of
Yes,
them
sir.
old, need
Yes,
to be paid.
Yes, sir.
Maybe not all the bills, but we need to give
Yes,
those
sir.
some serious consideration.
And
Need to reduce our debt.
Mr. Anthony, that's why I kind of am with all this, because when you look at this, the whole situation, you know, landfill, we get revenue from the landfill. Sanitation, we get revenue from that. And we need to fix those, we need to make sure we fix those things. So in the water, those are three things that we receive revenue from. So if we can get those departments where they're functional, we can stop taking our knuckle boom truck picking up trash. I mean, you know, you see how, you know, your trash been emptied when you see hydraulic fluid in front of your house or on the side of your building. So that's not a good thing we want to do. I mean, this ain't some money we just take, say, oh, we could have a good time. No, we trying to, this is, we're going to make sure every dime is spent in the right direction. I want to sit here 4 more years. So we're gonna do everything right. So we ain't gotta worry about no, so, you know, we got people with tarps on their house, got a lot to say. We got people with bricks on their house with a lot to say, but they ain't helping fix none of these issues in this community. So the thing that I want us to do is make sure every dime we get, since I've been here, y'all have not had one complaint about nothing I've done with this money because it's going in the right direction. You know, sometimes you got people who want to say, oh, this should happen, but they didn't get elected to do this job. I did. You all did. I think we're doing a good job of what we're doing. So with every dime that we get, it's gonna, like Gladys Knight said, it's gonna move in the right direction. Because I want the city to be this time next year in a different position and people have a different look on this community. So we're gonna do the right thing.
Mayor, quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I was chatting with somebody about this. Currently, does the water department take cash payments?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, how about we look into no longer accepting cash payments? I mean, can we not do what a lot of other businesses, you pay by cashier's check, or you pay by money order, you pay by check, you pay by debit card, so that, because, you know, we've talked about us not really knowing, and understand where I'm coming from. Not always knowing where we could have had maybe a little bit more control over things.
I think this is, we now with people involved, now we got a good control. We got a person who gives me a good report. She reports directly to me. She's good about every dime. If something don't look right, we're gonna hold it until she makes sure it's correct. So we got somebody in the water department is phenomenal, and I think that she's been to a lot of the reports you all get from the water department sometimes come from her, because she makes sure you ain't gonna wasteful spend, and she ain't gonna cut nothing that I don't see. So she's gonna make sure every deposit lines up right. So we got a no nonsense over there now. So we don't have any problem with any of that. So she's good. So and some people just can't, when they come, like people get first of the month income. they get their money and come straight pay their water bill. So they don't have, a lot of older people like my mom, she ain't finna give you her debit card because she wanna know what you gonna do with it. And she ain't gonna give you no check because she wanna like, well, what you gonna do? You get my account number and route number and set me up because somebody have done that to her before. So a lot of people are a little skeptical. But and if you wanna pay with card, our system is equipped for that, but some folks don't have that. And a lot of people put that money in the envelope with their water bill and say, hey, here's my water bill, give you the exact change. So we better with that.
So we can look into it.
I mean, it would be nice for us to go to more of a cashless basis. I think that would help with record keeping. I think that, as far as with the city, do y'all do like direct deposit? I'm just thinking about us going to a 21st century kind of.
With direct deposit, as me and the chief of staff, that's something that we were trying to work with, but you have to have that money. If payroll is $200,000, you have to have that money ready. You gotta have that in advance. So it has to be ready to go out, and we blessed like that.
That's something we would consider doing once we get solvent. Cause the cash advance, the direct deposit, typically people get paid earlier than payday and all of that, but it is something I think we ought to do. Yeah, it's just getting the capital set up to do it.
I don't know. I'm usually a century behind, so I think I was the last person to stop using dial-up internet. But
I believe that's right. I think
I would be concerned about maybe some of the elderly people who don't have the ability to do cashless transactions, or maybe it's difficult for them to do them, like making payments by phone and all that kind of stuff. I would have a concern about that. I have a different concern, and I don't know kind of where you were going, but like we handle cash. How do we handle our cash? How often do we make deposits? Are we making deposits daily, or do we hold on to money for days at a time? Because that makes it right for stuff to walk away. And if we handle cash, there should be a requirement that people go to the bank every single day.
Exactly.
There should be some way to fact check all of this.
Right, and that's what's happening. Do they have to get changed every day? So every day they're making a deposit.
This is doing the song the less cash you have, the less and I'm not saying by stealing, but it's gonna definitely cut down.
We got enough cameras over there.
Well, I mean, just to put, one of the things that we got in the reports that we got from water is that we bill for a certain amount and we collect a certain amount, and it's never the same. And so, I mean, in my mind, why is there a gap between how much we bill every month and what we actually collect?
I agree.
And what is the system for us to determine why those numbers don't either match up or at least come close?
Yeah, well, a partial explanation of that is your billing cycles don't always line up, person to person, house to house, all that stuff. And then the payments don't line up in terms of when people pay. I'd have to get Jackie to explain it a little bit better, but there is some lag in some of that. And for example, some of your big accounts, let's say they're paying $8,000 or $9,000 water bill a month. They may pay on the 20th in 1 month, and it ends up in that report, and on the 1st in the next month, and it ends up in a different report. So it would show bill but not collected.
Like today, I was over there. We had 100 checks from the housing authority. It wasn't just one big amount. It was $60, $70, $80, and it was like loads of checks. So they had to enter all that in. But it's what the 20th. It's the 20th. So like Mr. Valley said, so it'll show up next month. It won't show up this month.
Yes, some of them show up on different reports. That's all I'm saying.
So in the state does the same thing. I want to know what's going on, so I go over there and try to figure it out. In case I have to go over there and take some money, assist the customer, because I want to be flexible to know what goes on the water, police, street sanitation. So that's why I'm out, because I want the employees to see them doing the same thing they do, and I want to know how this works. I mean, because how can I be a good leader if I don't figure out how all the parts of the bus works?
Now another material weakness that we do have that we're working to correct is inconsistent shut-offs. And that's been both manpower and compassion. When we had the manpower, they weren't necessarily doing it. And then when we had these bad leaks, without water, it just seemed to be in poor taste to go cut people off water that they couldn't even get anyway. So then they had an unwritten policy from October to January, you don't cut anybody off because of the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays, which the council can allow it to continue or shut that down. But we've been inconsistent with our shut-off, and shut-off becomes a method of collecting quite a bit of the money and getting it into that same month. So people getting cut off this month.
Big fans.
I move we adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
Say good move to adjourn. It's gonna take motion discussion. All right, everybody. Have a good night.